Greetings everyone, I'm Buck Business. Konnichiwa, I'm Quiet Critic, and today we're here to review My Little Pony Season 8, Episode 5, Grannies Gone Wild. Oh boy, this is objectively the worst episode title ever. And I mean ever in the history of My Little Pony. Look, I'm the one who goes to get the images for the reviews, and I typed in the title in the Google search to get this picture. And I typed in Granny's Gone Wild without putting My Little Pony beforehand, and I think I have a few nightmares to get over now. Let's just leave it at that. Anyway, let's talk about how terrible this episode is. Yeah! So, this episode starts with probably the worst premise I've ever heard. Rainbow-san hears from the other Wonderbolts how there's some sort of roller coaster that they get initiated into, which makes no sense for Pega's side to be interested in some sort of activity that involves going up and down and going around like that, since they can fly, for crying out loud. This is so stupid. The premise of this episode holds everything else back. But it gets worse. Applejack gives them, or gives Rainbow specifically, this list and tells her these set of rules that apparently not even the Grannies even knew about, even though in the past they have done this trip before, which would indicate that they would have known about the list, but apparently they did not, which again is baffling, which leads to one of the worst cliches this episode offers, which is just talk. Instead, they just go about prating about, wasting some unnecessary amount of time. So they end up traveling via hot air balloon. They tell this one story and they pad out the time doing that even more, so but don't worry, there's some other distractions in this episode in the actual what's actually being visually seen, that is, like an alicorn stallion. Yeah, there's that. Oh, and don't forget all the other cameos that are there for absolute distractions, like the Rick and Morty ponies that everyone's been tweeting about. And I find it funny that they would appear in the worst episode ever. I guess that actually kind of fits, though, considering. So we have Applejack's ghost head reminding Appledash constantly how she should be treating these elders. And we have this one new elder among the four. We have two that are new, and we have two we have seen before, that being Granny and the other one to the left there. I actually don't remember her name constantly, but whatever. Point being, there's this flirting one, and there's the one that tells the unnecessary story. But, it's just a little bit eerie, at the very most, especially for that poor stallion. So, the elders pretend to be tired, giving Rainbow Dash just the amount of time to start up the line where we see those terrible cameos, and then leave to go back because she has that reminder in her head. And honestly, I will thank, I guess I should just say this now. Yes, we did see one other review before watching this episode, and Miss Pony did point out that, yes, this is more of a test of Rainbow Dash's, patience. And I didn't even catch it. We never even caught it, that being that there was just so much distractions happening. So at least the episode has something going for it. However, I would argue that they could have started off with a better premise in the first place. Yeah, I mean, if they started the episode off saying that these grannies were going into a retirement home and the pros and cons to a retirement home, and have Rainbow Dash look after them while they were transitioning into that. That episode would have been far more significant. Applejack would have played a more crucial role in the episode as well, seeing the heartache that would cause of the transition. I mean, speaking from personal experience, we both have a grandmare that is right now in in an elder's home. And again, weighing out those pros and cons as the premise of this episode, again, probably would have fixed all of the issues that this episode has. Instead, we got to continue going through this. So, Rainbow Dash is going about her business, traveling from location to location, getting another vision as she spots the elders playing this horseshoe toss, and then they want to eat instead. So they move on to eating, and then they go to dance, which causes her to, only that being Rainbow, to see just another vision. And then they get invited to this magic show, which I guess now everyone's guessing that stallion that did the magic is Trixie's father. Again, that's something I've seen on Twitter ever since this episode came out yesterday. So, there's that, and they invite the elders up to the stage to do this performance, and Rainbow freaks out as the elders reveal that there is some sort of escape, which makes all the other ponies shocked instead of being disappointed. So, again, we come back to the problem could have been solved much earlier if the episode had avoided one of the worst cliches it could have put into the episode, is just talk. Yeah, she avoids of this situation, which again the others somehow don't even know about. And then they end up just inviting her to the group, and because of their, I guess, celebrity status from doing this before, they just get to go cut in line above everyone else and get to go on the ride anyway. The ride that, again, for Rainbow Dash on, still doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But she somehow manages to enjoy herself regardless. And then we get to our final shot as they are leaving, as she becomes a part of their crew, to a big Applejack faded into the sun image, and she blinks. Even though the episode's issue came initially from her, which makes her blinking at the end make no sense at all. This episode would have been avoided without all of that nonsense happening. Yes, so everything in this episode just completely falls flat from its beginning. It just doesn't feel right. None of it does. And again, its premise could have been so much stronger, amplifying the entire episode and what it could possibly mean for the future of MLP. Instead, we get this nonsense that goes absolutely all the way through, and expects us to not see that these elders would have had to have known the truth, somehow forgot, which would actually kind of, if that was the implication, I mean, that could in itself be something to look into. Like, these Grannies are starting to legit forget things if they're going through that. But the episode doesn't imply that in any way, shape, or form. It almost seems as if they never knew to begin with. And that is this episode. This feels way more like a rant than a review, considering how awful this premise is and how awful its execution is. And the only credit we could ever find is from another reviewer saying that it tested Rainbow Dash Shan's patience, and that's the only thing it did. But it could have done that the same way with the premise we just suggested, so there's that. So even though it did one good thing, it could have done that one good thing in a much better episode. So yes, that is officially our review for this episode. Stick tut ting tong tori! And if you did enjoy this review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out that link in the description. It will head you over to our Patreon page, and any donations are greatly appreciated. And until next time, everyone, farewell!